170 Red Cross volunteers took time out last weekend to attend training at a high school in East Los Angeles. Red Cross volunteers spring into action whenever disasters strike. They perform real, vital service at disasters. They may set up an aid station at the site of a disaster, or perhaps set up an emergency shelter. They may help provide food and clothing to victims. Some volunteers like to work on the front lines of a disaster, directly helping victims, while others prefer to work behind the scenes, helping with things like logistics and casework. There is one thing that all volunteer positions at the Red Cross have in common. Volunteers train and practice for disasters ahead of time so that they know what to do when a real disaster strikes. Jane Brees teaches a class to help Red Cross volunteers work effectively with other agencies like fire departments, FEMA, or other volunteer groups at a disaster.
We're all going to learn together.
Yes.
We're going to work together.
Yes.
We're going to have a good time.
Yes.
Give yourself a hand.
She has her class recite the 7 principles of the Red Cross.
Humanity.
Humanity.
Impartiality.
Impartiality.
Neutrality.
Neutrality.
Independence.
Independence.
Voluntary service.
Voluntary service.
Unity.
Unity.
Universality.
Universality. Give yourself a hand.
Another class taught by Jennifer Lazo discusses the distribution of emergency supplies at a disaster.
So food, water, baby formula, the first stuff in the initial phase of disaster. Excellent, that's page 1 for those who didn't find it. Next one, name 2 methods of service delivery on a DRO. Does everybody know what DRO is, by the way? No. Disaster Relief Operation. So that's the basic term. You're usually actually going to hear them referred to as DRs. But that is when a disaster gets big to a certain point that we need to all have national response from other chapters coming together to do it. So that's a DRO. So what are those 2 methods of service delivery? Fixed and mobile. Excellent.
H.T. Link, who teaches a class in public affairs, talks about the need for volunteer training before disasters.
We see this most on an international disaster like Haiti or Pakistan. Lots of well-meaning people, well-qualified people will email or phone the national headquarters of the Red Cross and even some of our local chapters and say, hey, I've got this qualification, I've got this skill, I've got the time, I'm willing to go. And they want to go there on behalf of the Red Cross to help people. And unfortunately, we have to tell them, look, we already have a trained corps of international volunteers, just like we have a trained corps of national volunteers who've been through the training, they understand the Red Cross system, they know what we do, and they know what we don't do. And they're ready to go and help out. And that training doesn't come overnight. It's a long process. People have to go through the classes. They've got to do well at the classes. That means that some chapter somewhere has got to organize the classes. People like me and others have to be designated as instructors. And there's a whole instructor training technology as well. So I'm probably making it sound more complicated than it is, but at heart it's a way of taking well-meaning people who may or may not already have skills, giving them the skills, teaching them the Red Cross system, and then sending them off to do good to help people, whether it's around the corner, down the street, or across the country.
Red Cross volunteers come from all walks of life. New volunteers attend an orientation class to learn about the many ways volunteers can serve. For more information, go to www.redcross.org.